Well, actually, I greet my viewers with now a liberal message from such a progressive political commentator like me, Armenak Nouridjanian. As a humanist, psychologist, and human rights advocate, actually, um, I must say, I always upheld, social justice, racial integration, technological revolution, and also amnesty for non-criminal illegal aliens and ex-felons. Actually, and when I heard that President Obama, you know, powerless speech, in El Paso, when he actually was talking delirium, so a perfect delirium about some moles filled with alligators, and was fantasizing like he was daydreaming. Yeah, it sounded like a daydreaming. Really went real public, the most inappropriate moment. And when he actually denied those illegal alien workers the rights to receive amnesty, to receive right to work, to receive a temporary work card, it's outrageous, actually. If President Obama wants to run himself as a Democrat, he wants to get nominated and elected for second term, he should sign an amnesty bill. In his latest speech, for breakfast with some Hispanic community, he actually mentioned that there is no way for him to bypass the Congress. But still, Congress controlled by Republicans, so that President Obama, a Democrat, a conservative Democrat, siding practically with his political opponents, Republicans, neo-fascist Republicans, who are racist and will unlikely to actually accept amnesty for illegal alien workers. That Dream Act with Democrats failed to pass in the Senate. Actually, in my opinion, this is what I know is like Ed Kennedy or John Kane kind of bill legislation is precluded illegal aliens from receiving amnesty whatsoever. Instead, they charge them $5,000 fee, crazy fees, and actually denied and demanded the return to countries of origin. Actually, it was neo-fascist legislation, and actually denied human rights, and was very reactionary and retrograde. And if President Obama sided with Republicans, it will be a real problem. I expected. I was very frustrated when I heard President Obama speech in El Paso and breakfast with Hispanic community, when he mentioned his inability and his lack of progressive will, to issue an amnesty bill, as he practically was yielding to corrupt influence of neo-fascists in Congress. I believe that President Obama should actually remember that the Democratic Party gave him nomination, gave him power, made him congressman, and made him a president. But if he keeps cutting taxes for wealthy, end up very settled like Richard Nixon ended up. His political career being impeached by Congress and resigned, or even worse, as but the corrupt Illinois governor, Democrat Rod Blagojevich, ended up his career in a disgraceful corruption scandal by accepting bribes, $23,000 from Senator Burris, and committing extortions of accepting bribes, $500,000 bribes, in exchange for not cutting taxes. In exchange for not raising taxes against the wealthy, individuals and rich corporations. President Obama should actually, I believe, should reconsider his approach to the immigration problem, because if he doesn't declare amnesty for illegal alien workers, non-criminal alien workers, he actually risks very much being, nabbed to a pillar as a reactionary politician, as a neo-fascist, as a corrupt politician who received a prize of $90 million in exchange for preserving status quo, not seeking progressive solutions to problems of legal immigration and progressive taxation. As a liberal Democrat, I was promised to raise taxes 50% against those gasoline selling corporations like Shell, Arco, Texaco, Mobil, and Chevron, and British Petroleum. Because those corporations report motorists and they make billions of dollars in profits, and the state of California should actually charge them more money to pay a fair share of taxes. We should raise taxes at least 50% against those gasoline selling corporations. They actually report Californians every day, and they increase prices, retail gasoline prices, about 15% since last month. Prices were about $3.85 per gallon. Now we're about $4.29 per gallon of gasoline as average price. And keep in mind that Proposition O, that raised taxes against oil producers $1.44, fell by a very thin margin, about 2%. While about 48% of Californians, 49% of Californians practically supported this Proposition O, this progressive legislation to raise taxes $1.44 against local oil producing corporations. And actually, again, I believe that raise taxes against oil corporations is vital to American and Californian prosperity, because on a state level, I ran for the seat of California State Assembly from Southern California and from Southern Los Angeles, and I promised to raise taxes against wealthy individuals 50%, including their homeowners taxes and their individual income taxes, and capital gain taxes 50% against wealthy individuals, and raise taxes against oil corporations and gasoline selling corporations 50%, in order for the state of California to replenish its coffers. So we'll be able to distribute that money taken from the wealthy and give it to poor workers, in order to avoid rising crime, assassinations, domestic terrorism, and avoiding more strikes, and general increase in crime rate. So I believe that actually, as a progressive Democrat, I promise to uphold human rights, right to shelter, right to education, and increase spending in education and healthcare with my priorities as I run for the seat of California State Assembly, and I will actually for the next year elections. And I promise the Democrats, at least liberal Democrats, will invest heavily in Californian populations, in the California education, create new educational programs, will pay more money, invest, make huge increase investments, at least 50% into Californian public colleges, so that increasing wages of teachers, creating new associate degree programs in bookkeeping, in computer programming, graphic design, and digital media, and our programs, associate degrees in alcohol drug counseling programs, in order for Californians to be able to achieve real success. Because nowadays, community colleges, they teach very little, and those associate degree programs practically don't get even conclusion on subjects, and teachers, they avoid teaching well, because the state doesn't want to pay them public teachers good salaries and sabotage education. Republicans are actually public enemies who oppose healthcare and education. And if American public was for Republicans, they will actually lose everything. They will lose their incomes. Republicans will actually are financed by narco mafia. They will lose their houses. They will lose their income. They will lose their ultimate lives and prestige. We will have nothing. I, clamor for American public to vote for Democrats, and I clamor for American public to support me as a liberal Democrat to run for the seat of California State Assembly. Please watch my statements on at Los Angeles City Council sessions in Jeff Ferraro Chamber on Sundays at about 10 a.m. at the Los Angeles City View channel, and Time Warner Cable with channel 35. And actually, I cover progressive and liberal take on the problems of Los Angeles and California. Actually, and I also urge my viewers, progressive and liberal-minded fans, to donate funds to buy my paintings, my new release paintings, which were pretty, are very pretty, like Hide Shootout and Date with Scorpion and portraits of Nancy Pelosi, former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, and President Obama, and State Secretary Hillary Clinton from me. Some of paintings from $100 to $300. So please call my cellular number 323-445-1600 and arrange an appointment to come and watch my paintings. Buy a few if you like them. Yeah. Also, I want to devote a few months to healthcare reform. Healthcare highly important. I do support healthcare reform, but it's supposed to be implemented before year 2014. Republicans are miserable processes was American imperialists, was healthcare corporations. They pay illegal donations to the electoral fund, and actually was insurance companies. They try to kill healthcare legislation because they are afraid of government takeover. The government will take them out of business. But I believe if the prices are too high, if their services are too corrupt, we shouldn't be in business in the first place. And I believe that government exchanges, state-owned exchanges, is a very viable solution to the problem of healthcare, to the problem of lack of insurance coverage, and pre-existing conditions, and discrimination of pre-existing conditions, which is a violation of human rights in essence. And I fully support that healthcare reform. Those Republicans who vie for clamor for repeal of healthcare are just neo-fascists. They have no right to call themselves Republicans, because Republicans truly stand for the ideals of American Republic, such as equality, social justice, and equality. If those Republicans who control Congress call themselves actually Republicans, they are not. There are no more Republicans, but British Queen calls himself a Republican as well. No more Republicans, but British royalists and monarchists cannot call themselves Republicans because they are royalists, they monarchists, they oppose Republic, and the same here. American people mostly are neo-fascists. They oppose raising taxes against wealthy and rich corporations. They sold out to wealthy individuals. They are prostitutes, practically prostitutes, and literally prostitutes, some of them. And they actually will do anything to stay in power because they sold out. They even control and decision-making power to wealthy. And I believe some Democrats are the same way. They sold out to wealthy. Like President Obama himself was declared that he won't raise taxes on anybody who makes up to $250,000 per annual basis individually. And this makes a person rich, a wealthy person only makes up to $250,000. And what kind of wealth being created by ripping off American workers and investors, which is illegal. And I believe that those investors who think they can allow corporations to rip them off, corporations to make leaders to make lots of money. Those people are losers and should be invest money in anything at all, except in healthcare, especially mental healthcare, in order to improve their ability to understand that shouldn't finance neo-fascism and terrorism with their investments, because it hurt them ultimately. Like I've recently told my viewers about my trouble where I ran into when I went to see dental services dentist in Western Dental in Los Angeles on Martin Luther King Boulevard. So that I went there and some Dr. Sandorosa, Asian American or something, he actually refused to install, my crowns on my front teeth. I needed front teeth, because by miserable excuse that they don't have bone tissue. But I do have bone tissue enough. I used to wear my crowns, and used to wear crowns until the moment they were stolen from me. My crown was stolen from me by mobsters who poisoned me, who stole my also my two tables, Barocco tables, and my computer Presario, compact Presario R3000 with my novel Retribution, stolen from my Lancaster apartment, where narco mobsters attacked me and beat me up, to bloody pulp, and stole my property and threatened to murder me. Well, actually, I believe that come to return to my story with Western Dental Service. If I have that coverage of dental plan from SEIU, Service Employees International Union, still I had coverage from union SIU, Service International Employees Union. With that coverage, I couldn't get even 2 crowns. It was manager Jay actually, that guy, young guy. He was actually swayed by the influence of that neo-fascist Dr. Sedoros, who actually didn't have any proof that I had didn't have enough bone tissue. And I believe it's a case of medical malpractice, and I sue this office, and I get a judgment against them in small claims court, and I spend my own $300 worth of fee, the post that, that fee, in order to get with my case being heard by California Supreme Court, but I'll get the things done, and it's part of resistance or political reactionaries. I'll win this case. I believe I'll win this case if the judges become progressive, but because I believe that Democrats will beat neo-fascists here in California, and the mercenaries of narco mafia, and those council members like LaBonge and Janice Hunt were neo-fascists, the most vicious individuals and on earth practically. Those guys opposed raising taxes against the wealthy and sold out to narco mafia. We passed with temporary emergency order or city ordinance 181-530, which allowed the city to sell narcotics, illegal dope, harmful narcotics, marijuana, and it's an open road for mobsters to sell marijuana at crazy prices of $200 per 1 ounce. Of its illegal weed, and most of those Californians lost their homes because narco mobsters stole their rent money and charged them incredible amounts of money. So those people lost their rent money. And I believe that the sooner DA and Los Angeles police crack down on dope dealers and close down those illegal medical marijuana clinics, if they are men enough, not posses that owned by narco mobsters and neo-fascist politicians like Tom LaBonge, neo-Nazi fuck, and and then our Los Angeles City Council members, feds, Corres, Paul Corres, and non-face, numbnuts at Paul Krikorian, at nationalists, who just glorify nationalist neo-Nazi movement, who sold out to narco mafia. I hope that Los Angeles police officers and DA agents will be able to close down what's illegal medical marijuana dispensaries. And I demand that being done, because if lots of people in some California suffer the fate of becoming victims of narco mafia, there will be more crime, rate in crime, more assassinations, more terrorist attacks, and I believe that more strikes and more demonstrations. And I call all Los Angeles to come out to the city hall to bring banners, and demand closing down those medical marijuana dispensaries. But still, Los Angeles rent money to steal the savings and turn Angelenos into deranged madmen, because marijuana is a harmful narcotic. It turns people into zombies. It disrupts their memory. It disrupts a visual spatial continuum. Distorts their memory, turns them into psychotic wrecks, and exacerbates any mental disease, pre-existing condition or mental ailment that substance abusers might have. I fully support, as a liberal Democrat, I fully support Proposition 46. I'm going to enforce it by building large sanatoriums for substance abuse with individual rooms, lockable individual rooms, private hotels, where the substance abusers will be able to have privacy, will be able to have their own stuff, for one-bedroom rooms in hotels, partially covered by medical insurance, partially covered by personal savings for substance abusers, and will deliver highest quality social psychotherapists and psychiatrists in order to help those mentally ill people to stop abuse of illegal substance, which might cause their personal tragedy, might ruin their lives, and cause them irreparable harm and ruin of personal fortunes. As a liberal Democrat, I promise to raise taxes against wealthy individuals and reach 50%, and raise taxes against capital gains of 50%, and raise taxes against wealthy corporations like gasoline selling corporations like Arco, Shell, British Petroleum, Mobil, Chevron, and Texaco, in order to replenish state of California coffers, in order to send that money to create housing vouchers worth of at least $800, so that California residents will be able to actually buy real estate property, to rent apartments, to buy real estate property, so it will open the way for them to increase their consumer power greatly, and therefore increase retail sales of all businesses in California, most of businesses in California, and all of businesses in California, so that prosperity will become way of life for Californians. The Republican neo-fascists that build their lives on, on illegal donation, narco-mobsters, and nationalists, and they actually will regret that their reaction stances by refusing to raise taxes against the wealthy. They'll lose their jobs ultimately, because it's not for wealthy people to make them politicians. It's rank and file working class people that vote for them. Rank and file middle class people like bourgeoisie and peasants and working class people and businessmen and scientists. All those people vote for state workers. All those people vote for politicians, and they determine who will become a politician. And I believe that California voters choose me as a progressive option. If they wanted to have progressive politics, they will vote for me, Liberal Democrat, for California State Assembly. I will be promised to be available every day personally, and not through any proxy, but personally, anytime on my cell phone or my business phone, and even I can give you my cell phone right away. 323-445-1600, and I call progressive and liberal-minded people to give me a call, journalists as well, in order to support me with your donations, general donations. And also, I fight against wasteful spending and corruption in the city government, for instance. You see, as a city government, wasteful spending of Los Angeles City Council members actually doesn't know equal. Los Angeles City Council members charge $170,000 per annual basis. City, California. This is report, and they are not available personally at any time practically, and we actually Los Angeles City Council member from District 8, 3 times council member from Bush era times, and real estate bubble at time of that's council member with aristocrat plane Bernard Tuck from Los Angeles Police Chief. He actually didn't become personally available anytime at all. He's simply unavailable most of the time. And he has 3 field deputies, loafers, who do nothing at all. A few bums with, with mind their budget policy and kind of legislative analysis or something. But those people don't do anything but waste money of city Los Angeles, we believe, to taxpayers. I'll go to the Los Angeles City Council members every week and will lobby Los Angeles City Council members to raise taxes against the wealthy and cut taxes for poor homeowners and middle class who make less than $60,000. In order for them to be able to get their money worth, and then clamor for cutting down slash of wages of Los Angeles City Council members 50% from 178,000 to at least 80,000 per annual basis, in order for them, to give it surpluses about $100,000 to poor city workers, and increase their wages, their salaries, at least 50%, and give money to poor workers who are waiting for their housing, for affordable housing, and for years, and suffer, mental degradation, and suffer mental illnesses, and suffer physical illness as well. And I believe that actually, I believe 56% of Californians do support closing down medical marijuana dispensaries, because according to MSNBC report of that former progressive MSNBC anchor host Mr. Kiefer Alderman, who've been fired by MSNBC or somehow contract with Renew California. 56% of California voters rejected legalization of marijuana, rejected Proposition 19 last November elections. At least as well as I know this information. And I believe that 56% of California will support me in my efforts to fight harmful narcotic marijuana, to close down all those illegal medical marijuana dispensaries, which are supported by corrupt Los Angeles City Council members, where illegal city ordinances that violate the United States Controlled Substances Act, which explicitly prohibits and bans sales of marijuana as harmful narcotic, not a drug. And I believe at least to get those votes, over 56% of California voters will vote for me the next year. I can predict that with certainty, because people want progressive change. We don't want Bush repeating Bush era. And I tell Mr. Obama, President Obama, as a Democrat, you must raise taxes against the wealthy. People make more than $100,000 a year. That's your duty as a Democrat. If you don't want to have to end up in so much tragical outcomes, like was your Illinois-based body corrupt governor, ex-governor Rod Blagojevich ended up his career in 5 years conviction of federal penitentiary on corruption charges. Jury convicted him, and by the way, and the second his corruption trial will end up his Rod Blagojevich being convicted for an hour, 20 years in jail, in federal penitentiary, I must say. Come to think of, speaking of phenomena of hecklers, during was Los Angeles City Council members, I will notice that John was a outspoken heckler and critic of Los Angeles corruption of Los Angeles City Council members. Sometimes alluded to the topic, and he was shaken very badly. So I suspect that John Walls might have Parkinson's disease and should treat it with psychotropic medication like L-Dopa and stuff like that, in order to stop joking around during those council member sessions and, and made a positive and negative criticism of corruption in Los Angeles City Council members, which actually took unprecedented kind of turn. Council members behave very odd and erratic, sometimes, and they speak, give small talks, where speech becomes disorganized, and they actually sometimes make very nasty remarks at times, very reactionary remarks, and I believe we should stop as well. Council city members should learn to be productive, to speak, to articulate every word they say, to actually to pursue progressive public policy in order to avoid more assassination, more strike, and more demonstration, and more general increase in domestic crime and terrorism. Because if they actually become too greedy, that greed will actually kill them, will ruin their personal fortune. And they agreed to rip off city coffers for $178,000. Actually, is another evidence of Los Angeles City Council members with Janice Hahn, Tom LaBonge, and Tony Cardenas, and Jose Juarez, and Paul Krikorian, Paul Koretz, and actually Bernard Pax. That company will actually make a big mistake. But actually sell the power to highest bidder, and actually practically they've been robbed of their political power, because they don't decide any political matter. By a legislative deputy, let's say Bernard Pax, legislative deputy that has field deputy, has budget deputy, they refuse his constituents to contact Bernard Pax with intention to steal Bernard Pax power. And Bernard Pax sold out to mafia and should fire them all was bombs, legislative deputy, another deputy, because we should only think about progressive solutions to problems, say fixing potholes. Potholes on Jefferson Boulevard, on Crenshaw Boulevard, and in the area of South Central, where potholes are huge, and Department of Transportation refused to fix those potholes. Should be head of the department, and Department of Transportation should be fired immediately on the spot. And Los Angeles city tax collectors are too corrupt. They didn't collect any taxes, and they admitted the system went broke, and they admitted their own bankruptcy, being moral bankrupts, and we should be fired for failure to collect taxes. $300 million budget deficit exists due to the corruption of Los Angeles City tax collectors. We should hire new tax collectors, responsible people, capable people of collecting their taxes through collecting those liens and enforcing those debtors pay their taxes in civil courts, or confiscate their property of debtors that refuse to pay their taxes, they refuse to pay city taxes, homeowners taxes as well. And I believe that way Los Angeles will prosper if Los Angeles government manages to collect taxes against those wealthy people who actually have too much money and should share with the city in order to avoid increasing crime rate, at least for one thing. Again, I'm a liberal Democrat and human rights advocate and progressive politologist and actually progressive painter as well. And I invite Los Angeles public to buy my 17 paintings on those Californian neorealist themes, which depict, let's say, high desert shootout, date with a scorpion, and I have a large, two large canvases about 40 by 40 inch acrylic on canvas, and sell them at the price of $400 or any bargain deals are available. Bargain deals are welcome. and heck low price is quite relevant to point of sales. And I believe that most progressive and liberal Californians will actually support me with deal to sell my paintings. And so I invite them to call my cellular number 323-445-1600 in order to arrange an appointment to see my paintings, my home exhibitions of 17 paintings on oil and acrylic, and to buy any paintings that will range of from $200 to $500, and or any bargain deals are available as well. So that we'll be waiting for your calls. Also call my write to my internet address freeliberal@offering.net. Again, my address is freeliberal@offering.net. It's just the same way as it sounds, freeliberal at offering.net. So that all those progressive liberal commentaries are welcome, and moderate input is welcome. The only thing I admonish my readers to do is resort to extremist rhetorics, what actually mentally unbalanced people normally do. But anyway, don't forget that I'm a progressive psychologist. I will resort to brainwashing in order to help mentally people like homophobes and psychopaths alleviate their mental anguish. So please get ready, for serious discussion on any issue that's of your interest, and add liberal input, so I'll be able to improve my ideas. Oh, besides, I forgot, I will also propose legislation in Sacramento in order to buy more satellites, in order to provide satellite service in forests in rural areas and territorial waters of California, and also for computer services free of charge at the expense of California satellite network will be created at the expense of California state government, so that all businesses in California will be able to get immediate cellular connection and computer internet connection anytime we're in rural forested countries or within 12 miles of Californian coast, which enables fishermen, hunters, oil producers, or kind of naturalists, or tourists, or scientists, or simply travelers and wanderers, to have safe cell phone connection in order to deflect any human predator or animal predator attacks, which are actually quite commemorable event in California, and likely to happen anytime when travelers don't have reliable cell phone connections or don't have any weapons. So that again, my phone number is 323-445-1600. Call me with your donations to support progressive cause of liberalism and social justice and integration and technological revolution, and give me your inputs and also give me your donations so I could get elected and become California State Assembly representative next year. So again, my phone number 323-445-1600. I also have 16 paintings, oil and acrylic on canvas, large and small, at prices from $100 to $500. So please give a call and buy my paintings on California new release films. Thank you so much, and we're waiting for your rapid response.